Good morning, friend. Welcome back to my kitchen. My name is Becky if you're new, and today we are making 10 recipes. But first, we're gonna make 5 no-bake Valentine's Day treats. It's my annual. This is the 3rd year I've done it in a row where I bake and make a ton of Valentine's Day goodies. I box them up and then I go and I drop them off at my loved ones' houses. And the first thing we're gonna start with this morning are 5 no-bake Valentine's Day candies. And the first one we're gonna start with is a browned butter fudge because it needs to chill for 2 hours before we can cut into it. First thing we need to do is brown our butter. When browning butter, it is always good to use a light bottom pan because if you're using a dark bottom pan, it's hard to see when the butter proteins or the milk proteins in the butter brown. So we're gonna start with that, and while that's starting to melt and brown, I'm gonna prepare our dish that we're gonna actually chill our fudge in. I have a piece of parchment paper, and I'm gonna go ahead and crinkle it up so it stays in place. I learned that trick from you all, and it's super helpful. Get this in just a 9x9 baking dish. If you want the fudge really thin, you could do a 9x13. And I'm just gonna spray this a little bit with some cooking spray. Grab a pastry brush, and I'm actually gonna go ahead and brush this just so that we have an even layer. Put this back in here, and our baking dish is now prepared for our brown butter fudge. I will link all these recipes down below. Most of them are brand new recipes to me that I've never made before. Our butter is starting to boil, so we don't want to walk away at this point. So I'm going to prepare some of the other ingredients we need for our fudge. This is some evaporated milk. And then I'm gonna be using today for a lot of our treat making when I need sugar, this vanilla sugar. I just have some organic cane sugar that I dehydrated the vanilla beans after making homemade vanilla extract. And I let those vanilla beans steep in this sugar for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And now we have this vanilla sugar and it tastes fabulous. This is not necessary for a lot of the recipes we're gonna be making today, but I figured it would just add a nice vanilla treat to our baked goods. So I'm not seeing any browning quite yet. It's still pretty yellow. I've turned the heat down because this happens quick. I'm rereading my recipe. I do have them labeled what order I wanna make them in so that I give proper chill time and everything for them. So I did that this morning. And let's see. Once our butter is toasty and nutty brown, then we will reduce to medium, add the sugar and evaporated milk, and bring to a boil of 234 degrees using a candy thermometer, about 10 minutes. We're starting to get some color. It's always hard to see very well because of the foam, but I think we're almost there. Yeah, okay, so we're gonna add the next ingredients. I'm gonna add 2/3 cup evaporated milk. Reducing the heat, 3 cups of our vanilla sugar. Stir that together. Oh my goodness, this already smells divine. I'm gonna take my candy thermometer and put it on the side of my pot. I love this candy thermometer because it has such a big screen and I can see it from across the kitchen. We're already at 126 degrees and we need to get to 234 degrees Fahrenheit. That's gonna take about 10 minutes or so to come to temperature. So while that's coming to temperature, I need freeze-dried strawberry powder for a few recipes for some of the cookies and candies. So I have a quart of home freeze-dried strawberries that smell incredible. And we're gonna get these into my high-powered blender. And I freeze-dried these with some mangoes. And so it looks like there is a mango in here. I'm gonna go ahead and get out. That wouldn't hurt anything, but we do want strawberry for the color and flavor. And I'm gonna turn this on.
This is one of my new favorite ways to use my freeze-dried goods, is to use it as a flavor punch, because freeze-dried stuff has such a condensed flavor, but also as a way to incorporate color into my baked goods without having to use an artificial coloring. And if you've been interested in a freeze dryer, Harvest Right is having a Valentine's Day sale now until February 15th, 2024. So if you've been interested in getting a freeze dryer for your home, I will link the one that I have down in the description box below.
And now we have homemade freeze-dried strawberry pink powder that we're going to use for quite a few recipes today. I'm going to leave the lid on and we'll use this later. While that's still coming up to temperature, I decided I'm going to take my freeze-dried powder and I'm going to divide it between 3 bowls. And I'm going to get ready for one of the next treats so that as soon as we're ready, we can move on to the next thing. I have 3 recipes that I'm going to be making today that call for freeze-dried strawberry powder. And I am going to divide this freeze-dried strawberry powder into these 3 bowls so that as soon as I need them for each recipe, it will be ready for me. We're still waiting for that to come to temperature. So I'm going to go ahead and just get started on the Strawberry Heart Rice Krispies. And the way that we're going to color these and flavor them is with our strawberry freeze-dried powder. I've got some butter here. I'm going to get that in the pot. Our marshmallows. And I'm going to put this on a low heat and let this just slowly melt while we work on our fudge. I'm going to go ahead and just get our freeze-dried strawberry powder into the marshmallow mixture. For the Heart Rice Krispies, I'm going to prepare it the same way I prepared the fudge, but I'm going to do it in a cookie sheet because I want really thin Rice Krispies. I'm just taking some water and rubbing it along the outside edge to try to get any sugar crystals off the edge to prevent crystallization of our fudge. The recipe doesn't say to do this, but I've had that happen before when making candies, and so I have found that this does help reduce the risk of that happening. I can see that we are at 205, so while that's continuing to cook, I'm going to get going on another one of our treats that I can get ready over here because this is going to be super easy to come together. I'm going to use my food processor for this next one. Right here, I have a little bit of a station where last night I got out a bunch of things I need for this cookie candy baking extravaganza day. So I know that I only need 2 ingredients to start this recipe, and I can see that I am at 211 degrees, which I can clearly see from over here. So I can link that candy thermometer, all of these recipes, and any of the equipment that I'm using today down below if you are interested in it. And we are going to make classic Oreo truffles, and we're going to decorate them. I'm going to show you how we're going to decorate them so that they are Valentine's Day festive. So we need 36 Oreos in our food processor. So 2, 34, 36, 1 block of softened cream cheese. Put the lid on. It's the wrong lid. Put the lid on. So I saw that we hit our temperature of 234, so I just turned the heat off. I'm going to add 1 7-ounce jar. Yes, this is a 7-ounce jar of marshmallow fluff. Good pinch of salt. 2 cups of white chocolate chips. And we're going to mix this together. When making candy, it's really important you have a heavy bottom pan. This was a gift that I got for Christmas one year, and it's one of my absolute favorite pots. I think I want my fudge to be a little bit thinner, so I'm gonna use a jelly roll pan instead of a 9 by 9. The chocolate is all melted. The marshmallow fluff is incorporated well. I changed my mind. I want it in the 9 by 9, so I just put it into this 9 by 9. Now I'm gonna get all of the last of this goodness out of this pot. Friend, I may have tasted this brown butter. I'm gonna call it brown butter vanilla fudge because we use that vanilla sugar. That is extremely decadent and delicious and so easy. So I'm gonna pop this in the fridge, let this set, and we're gonna go finish our, let's do the Oreo balls. I cannot wait for my loved ones to try that. That has to be a Christmas candy as well, because it is that good. I did have to stop this when I went to the fudge, so now I've let it go and it is perfect. So that is our truffle mixture. It's pretty soft, so I think what I'm gonna do is actually pop this in the fridge for a little bit so that it can firm up before we roll it into balls. So into the fridge, this goes. So I've turned the heat back on my marshmallow mixture and strawberry mixture. I'm gonna get a little bit more strawberry powder in there. I want it to not only give it the flavor of strawberry, but the color as well. I've turned the heat off because our marshmallows have melted, and now I'm gonna go ahead and add my Rice Krispies. I think this skinnier wooden spurtle, that's what these are called, will be a little bit easier to mix all this together with. Yeah. You can already see that color coming through. This is going to be beautiful. It smells like summer. That is amazing. So I want to mix this until it's nice and fully incorporated. It smells, I can't even describe it. It's summer in here right now, even though it's only February. So we've got our baking sheet here with our parchment paper. I think that this is fully mixed. The way I have found the easiest way to do this is to have really clean hands, put a little bit of spray on your hands, and then you can go in and press it out. Our second treat is done. I'm going to give this a little bit of a taste test. You need to make this. It has such a strong, intense strawberry flavor. Incredible. So we're gonna let this cool and then we're gonna cut into it. So let's go on to our next treat. 2 done, and the third one is almost done. So we're gonna get going on the next step. I took this out of the fridge. It's still pretty soft, but it's firmed up just a little bit that I can go ahead and just shape them into little truffles. I'm just gonna use my small cookie scoop, get these into little balls, and then I'm gonna pop them back in the fridge so they can firm up a little bit before we cover them in chocolate and decorate them for Valentine's Day. And the cool thing about when you're making truffles is they don't have to be perfectly round because they're based off the truffles mushroom that you find in the forest, and those most certainly aren't perfectly round. The first time I ever had the Oreo truffles just like this, I was in dental hygiene school, and one of my classmates brought them in for Valentine's Day as a Valentine's Day treat for all of us. And that was probably, I went to dental hygiene school in 2014. So it was either 2013 or 2014 the first time I had these. And I've been hooked ever since. They're so easy and delicious, and you can really decorate them for any occasion. And you could make these as big as small as you want, but they're pretty rich, so I usually use my little cookie scoop. And because I want to be able to give everybody a good variety of all these goodies we're gonna be making, I'm okay if they're nice and small. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30. So there's a little bit more than one Oreo in each one of these truffles, and plus there's the cream cheese. So pretty decadent bite, and we're gonna decorate them. So I'm gonna put these back in the fridge, let these chill while we start our next treat. You know, I think I'm gonna pop them in the freezer actually. Now we're gonna make the next treat, and this is gonna come together really easily as well. And we can do this in a bowl, just mixing it in a bowl. This does not make, the single recipe doesn't make a ton of these, but that's okay because they're really rich. And so I'll make enough so each person will get at least one in their box. So I'm going to use a scale here. And we are gonna make basically like a peanut butter cup, but instead of using peanut butter, we are gonna use cookie butter. So how incredible and decadent does that sound? So I'm gonna start by zeroing out my scale, and I'm gonna go ahead and put 360 grams of cookie butter, or probably all of this cookie butter that I have in this jar, in this bowl. I originally was not going to make this, even though I wanted to. I was only gonna do 4 treats today, but then the coffee kicked in and I thought, you know what, I've got this cookie butter. We need to make the cookie butter treat. So I'm gonna go ahead and adjust the recipe as needed, and we're just gonna use all of the cookie butter I have. I don't quite have enough for a whole recipe, but I have enough for about 3/4 a recipe. I'm gonna get this off the scale. We're gonna melt this together. I'm gonna make this basically the exact same way I make peanut butter cups, and I'll melt the cookie butter and butter together in about 30-second intervals. You can see how even after 30 seconds, it's pretty melty. My cookie butter and butter have melted completely together. So now I'm gonna take about 3/4 of a cup, because that's about 3/4 of the recipe, powdered sugar in my sifter to get any lumps out. This was a gift, and I absolutely love it. You see all those lumps in there? This makes this so much easier. Beautiful. And now I'm gonna stir this mixture together. I might need to add a little bit more powdered sugar. We'll just see what the consistency is like. Probably would have been easier to do this in a mixer or with a hand mixer. But I can do it like this. You definitely want to make sure your powdered sugar is smooth so you don't get lumps in this. And that's pretty soft. Even though it is going to firm up in the fridge, I do think I need to add just a touch more powdered sugar, because we're going to dip these in chocolate. Okay, that's better. That's more of a kind of a Play-Doh-like consistency. Okay, I'm gonna try to spread this out into an even layer. All right, I'm gonna pop this in the freezer. Now we are gonna start probably the easiest treat out of all the stuff we've made so far. And some of them have been pretty easy. So that is saying a lot. I do have some red, white, and pink candies here. And I'm gonna line pretzels on this baking sheet. I'm just gonna lay them face up. And you could do as many or as few as you want. These two are broken, so I'm gonna go ahead and put those right back in there and we can just have those as snacks. You know what I'm gonna do? While I'm doing this, I'm gonna prep my chocolate. We need to melt some white chocolate, and we're gonna need this for a few recipes, so I'm gonna go ahead and just melt quite a bit. My chocolate is basically melted. I don't wanna melt it all the way in the microwave because it will burn. And so I'm just gonna let the residual heat finish melting my white chocolate. And I've got my pretzels all ready to go. In my mason jar, I've got a Ziploc bag, and I'm gonna pour my white chocolate in here. Not all of it, because I don't know how much I'm gonna need. And we're gonna need this for other recipes. So I'm gonna set that aside. And we are gonna turn these little pretzels into little hearts. So I just cut a slit in my bag, and I'm only gonna fill the little sections with white chocolate, so it looks like a heart. The original plan was to decorate them with these pink and white pink and white candies, or with these dye-free sprinkles, but I think I like them just white. I think they are gonna add a little pop of white to the box, so I think I'm gonna leave them just like that. I think they are plenty adorable just like this, so I'm gonna go pop these in the freezer so they can harden, and we're gonna grab our truffles so we can get those covered in white chocolate. I did pop these in the freezer just so that they would chill a little bit quicker. And this white chocolate has now firmed up quite a bit, and I think I'm gonna need more because we're gonna actually have to dip these. So I'm gonna pour some more white chocolate in here. I need white chocolate for some cookies, so I'm gonna set this aside so I don't use all of it. And then because we are going to be dipping these truffles, I'm gonna add a little bit of coconut oil to our chocolate. This helps give the chocolate a little bit of a shine without having to temper it. So I'm gonna pop this in the microwave in 30-second intervals to get this melted. If you don't have a microwave or don't like using a microwave, you could definitely use a double boiler for this. While my chocolate is melting, I'm gonna prep my sprinkles. I did buy these dye-free red sprinkles. I can link these down below. Obviously, these have artificial dye in them. They are the name brand candy coated sprinkles. You all know what they are. But here are some dye-free sprinkles. So we got that ready if we want to decorate with those. You can see here, there's still lumps of chocolate in here, but I think the heat, yeah, we can stir those lumps out. It's gonna be a lot runnier and shinier with that coconut oil. And it smells good too. See, perfect, nice and smooth. All right, that should be plenty of chocolate to cover our truffles. Now I'm gonna get 2 forks. I'm just gonna plop them in here. You could use whatever kind of chocolate you want to cover your truffles in. You could do dark chocolate, milk chocolate, semi-sweet chocolate. I'm doing white chocolate, obviously.
On this day, I make 5 treats, and then I make 5 cookie recipes total. So we make a total of 10 recipes, And when I went into this day, one of the reasons I chose a couple super easy recipes like the Rice Krispies and these is I knew that they were going to be crowd pleasers for one, and I was going to have a hard time messing them up. And so I wanted to give myself a couple easy wins. And I know everyone in my family loves a good Oreo truffle and Rice Krispies. As long as you don't burn the marshmallow, they're usually pretty easy. And so that is why I kind of went into this day wanting to give myself a couple easy wins. And if you've been here for any length of time, you know that sometimes I flop on things, but I am proud to say that on this day, between the treats and the cookies that we're going to make this afternoon, I did not flop on any of the recipes. They all turned out really, really fabulous. And so if you're new around here, I would welcome you to subscribe, because that is what we're going to be doing next after we get all these treats done. The next thing we're going to be doing are those cookies, and so I wouldn't want you to miss out on seeing how we make 5 Valentine's Day cookies, and they all are so good. I love trying new recipes on days like this because you never know when you're going to find your new family favorite. And then I also like to throw in ones that are tried and true, so you have a little bit of a combination of both. So I did try decorating some of these, well, I guess it was just one of these truffles with the sprinkles, and I didn't like the look of that quite as much as the M&Ms, and so I just stuck with the M&Ms, and we will get all these covered, all decorated with an M&M, and I would cover about 5 or 6 of them and then go back and put the M&M on the top. And sometimes because the truffles were cold, the chocolate hardened, so I did have to add just a little bit more chocolate to glue the M&M on the truffle.
If you did not want to decorate these with the candy coating chocolate, you could decorate them just with white chocolate. You could put crushed Oreos on the top. You could do whatever you wanted. So now I'm going to take these and pop them in the fridge so they can harden. We can get them off this cookie sheet onto another one so they look a little bit neater, because right now it's looking a little messy. And let's chocolate cover our cookie butter hearts, which we still need to cut into heart shape. I just grabbed my cookie butter bar basically at this point, and I've got my Ziploc bag of heart cookie cutters. I think this is a good size. We'll get quite a few of them. Oh, I'm doing the wrong side. So I'm going to cut them into the hearts, pop these back in the freezer, and then we'll melt our chocolate.
After I delivered the candy boxes, I had multiple people text me and ask me, what was that white candy you made and what were the hearts, because they were delicious. So out of the 5 treats that we made on this morning, the new family favorites were definitely the brown butter vanilla fudge and these cookie butter hearts. And this was a fun kind of variation on a peanut butter cup. So typically I like to have something peanut buttery, and I usually do like a peanut butter cup or a Reese's peanut butter cup or something like that. And this was a fun kind of twist and play on that, and everyone loved it. So it was super fun. This cookie butter is frozen, and I definitely think that it is easier to work with this cookie butter kind of like filling when it is super cold, so that it keeps its shape pretty well.
Here are our hearts. I'm going to go ahead and melt this milk chocolate, and I'm going to pop these in the freezer while this melts. I want these to stay nice and cold. I'm first going to put just a little bit of coconut oil in there. Once we have these hearts dipped, we can cut into everything and get it all prepared so we can start packaging up our boxes once our cookies are done. These have been so easy to throw together. We've got our hearts, and we were able to get 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, if I just counted correctly. 2 forks.
I'm using milk chocolate for this. Again, you could use whatever kind of chocolate you prefer. When I made the peanut butter cups, over Christmas, for the Christmas boxes, I used a semi-sweet chocolate, and that was really good. But I think they probably would have been better with milk chocolate. And so that's why on this day I decided to go ahead and use milk chocolate instead of semi-sweet chocolate. But again, if you like dark chocolate or milk chocolate or semi-sweet chocolate, a combination of all of the above, white chocolate, you know, this is totally where you could make whatever your family would prefer. And these little chocolate hearts just were absolutely perfect in the boxes. I thought that they added a little chocolate element that just worked really well with all of the other goodies that we end up making on this day. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking each one of the hearts, I'm dipping it into the milk chocolate, I'm covering it with the milk chocolate. Sometimes there was little air bubbles on the top of the chocolate, and so I would just take one of the forks and kind of pop the air bubbles, and then I would take the fork and tap it on the side of the bowl to get any excess chocolate off, so that when I put it on the parchment paper, it wasn't just sitting in a huge pool of chocolate. And then I thought it would be pretty if I took some of this excess chocolate I had in my bowl and I just put some little ribbons of chocolate over top of the hearts just to add a little bit of a design. And this is a monochromatic look, but you could add a different colored chocolate if you wanted a little bit more contrast.
These might not look like much yet, but I think as soon as the chocolate hardens and we can peel it away from the parchment paper and see just the candy heart, and it doesn't look so messy on here, I think these are gonna be one of the cutest things we've made today. So I'm gonna pop these also in the freezer. We officially have all of our 5 candies done. The Oreo truffles, the cookie butter hearts, the pretzel hearts, the strawberry Rice Krispies, and the brown butter vanilla fudge. And I think what I'm gonna do now is start making my 5 cookie recipes. So I'm gonna take a break from the candy, make these 5 cookie recipes, and then we'll be back to box up, cut into our Rice Krispies, our fudge, and then we can get the cookies and candies all boxed up, ready to find their new homes tomorrow.
At this point in the day, I now have all 5 of my cookies out of the oven and cooling, and I'm going to give you a sneak peek of those in just a minute, but I'm going to turn my attention back to the Rice Krispies and the fudge. You can see just how beautiful and pink these strawberry Rice Krispies turned out by just using that freeze-dried strawberry powder. And I'm using a serrated knife, and I'm going to cut these into little bite-sized pieces. At first I was thinking I would cut them a little bigger, but because I made so many recipes on this day, I end up cutting them into bite-sized pieces so that I can put just a little bit of everything in everybody's box. So here I was like, should I keep them this size or should I cut them in half? And I decided I'm going to cut them in half, and they're just going to be like a bite-sized Rice Krispie. So on this day, I end up using freeze-dried strawberry powder in 2 of the cookie recipes, and it really is getting my wheels turning on all the different ways I could use freeze-dried fruit powders to flavor and color all sorts of different things. And I think that my mind is just starting to come up with the ideas of different ways to use freeze-dried fruit. So here I've got my fudge. I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to go ahead and clean up the edges before I cut these into cubes. Don't worry, those scraps didn't go to waste. They were enjoyed just like the rest of it. But for the presentation of the candies going into the gift boxes, I wanted everything to have just a nice clean edge. And I did the same thing with this fudge that I did with the Rice Krispies, in that I cut it into small pieces. This is super rich stuff, and just a little piece goes a long way. So I first cut them into these long strips before I then rotated the fudge, and then I cut them into little cubes. This fudge was in the refrigerator, so it's pretty firm, and that made it pretty easy to cut into. And then once I cut it, I didn't put it back in the fridge, I just left it at room temperature. But we're going to cut them into our bite-sized pieces. And again, this was a winner of a recipe. So many people text me and asked for the recipe.
I just finished baking all the cookies. I've got strawberry shortbread, red velvet with white chocolate cookies stuffed with caramel sauce. Well, when you open it, there's gonna be a caramel that's gonna be ooey and gooey. We have peanut butter cookies with a chocolate heart, strawberry palmiers, and those are the cookies that I made. Here we have our treats we made. We've got our strawberry Rice Krispies, our white chocolate hearts with pretzels, our cookie butter, I don't know what you call these, cookie butter cups, our Oreo truffles, and our brown butter vanilla fudge. I'm gonna box these goodies up in these little, they're called bakery boxes that I got off Amazon. I can link these down below. And then I got these napkins at Dollar Tree, and I'm gonna line my box with these napkins and get these packaged up. I went ahead and laid out all my boxes for how many people I need to package up boxes for and deliver tomorrow. And so I am gonna go ahead and get these packaged up right now so that tomorrow I can spend my day driving around town, dropping these goodies off at people's homes, and I'm really looking forward to it. So if you're new around here, happy Valentine's Day. If no one wishes you happy Valentine's Day, I wanna wish you the very best Valentine's Day. And please consider subscribing, because if you want to see how I made all these cookies, that will be next. So please consider subscribing if you're new, because I would love to have you along. We do so much fun stuff in the kitchen, garden, cooking, baking, food preservation, growing food, shopping, and all things food. I just love it, and I love the fact that you take time out of your day to spend time with me. If you enjoyed this, I can pop a couple of my other videos here. You can go enjoy between now and my next upload. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being you, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye, friend.